The last indie adventure was definitely a mixed bag. Some hated it for how dark and brutal it was, others loved it for how dark and brutal it was, which is probably why Spielberg and Lucas decided to take a more lighter approach to what we know now as Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The movie starts off in 1912. A young Indy, played by River Phoenix, snatches a crucifix off a group of robbers, led by Fedora. It then leads to a fun action scene on top of a train. Here we see how he develops his fear of snakes, how he got the whip, including the scar on his chin. After escaping, he hands the crucifix over to the authorities, who hand it over to Fedora and the robbers, who then hand it over to some shady guy in a white suit. Indy, crushed by his defeat, is approached by Fedora, who shows his admiration and even gives Indy his hat. It transitions to 1938. Indy is captured on a very rocky boat, trying to steal back the same crucifix from the same white suit man. He fights them off, steals it back, and makes it safely to America. Later, he is escorted to a swanky pad owned by Walter Donovan, played by Julian Glover, a businessman and an antique enthusiast, but longs to find the Holy Grail. Indy finds out that his father was hired to find it, but has gone missing. So with Marcus Brody, they set off to Venice, meet up with a smoking hot Austrian babe called Elsa Schneider, and together they search for Indy's dad, hoping it isn't too late. We all know how great Ford is as Indy, and here we see him as a much more altruistic version of him. He's not after the Grail, he just wants to find his dad, and the only way to achieve that is to search for the Grail. Even after he rescues his dad, he's pulled back into it, knowing mankind will be in deep shit if the Nazis get their hands on it. The late River Phoenix, despite his short screen time, kills it as a younger Indiana Jones. He gets the mannerisms of Harrison Ford spot on, yet still bringing more of a determined naivety to the character. Elsa Schneider, played by the gorgeous Alison Doody, is an improvement on the screaming Willie. She's charming, smart, sophisticated, but also an opportunist, aligning herself with corrupt men in order to get ahead. She's not evil, she definitely shows confliction to the people she's affiliated with, but she is still siding with evil in order to take the quick and easy path to fulfill her blind ambitions. Julian Glover does a great job as Walter Donovan, a wealthy businessman obsessed with wielding the power of the Holy Grail. When we meet him, he is charming, sophisticated, even coming off as sincere, but like Elsa, he's also an opportunist, blinded by his own greed and lust for power, and like Elsa, both will eventually take the path that leads both of them to inevitable doom. Great support from Michael Byrne as the ruthless Vogel. Kevork Malikan is likeable as Grail Protector Kazim, and Robert Edison brings a powerful but quiet presence as the knight tasked to guard the Grail. John Rhys Davis and Denholm Elliott return as Salah and Marcus Brody, and the chemistry they both share with Indy and Henry Sr. are strong, especially with the addition of the late, great Sean Connery. It's no secret that James Bond was a huge influence on the Indiana Jones adventures. The globe-trotting adventures, the gorgeous women, the stunning locations, and the fact that they got James Bond to play Indy's dad was the icing on the cake. Connery is perfect as Indy's dad, Henry Jones Sr., who's the complete opposite of Indiana, more of a bookworm, inexperienced, dorky, square, but we still see a strictness. There's still a sense of respect and integrity to his character. He's not a tough guy, but he's not a coward either. He loves his son, but like Elsa and Donovan, he is consumed by his obsession to the point of neglecting what was important to him. But that only makes the film more impactful when he finally opens up to his son, leading to one of the more emotional moments redeeming his character. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is definitely the polar opposite of Temple of Doom. It takes the lighter approach and definitely pays off. The action is more slapstick but never goes over the top. And it's helped by the witty dialogue, the great chemistry between the two leads, and payoffs to some very subtle setups. X marks the spot. John Williams' score adds to the fun, and the relationship between Indy and Henry bring a lot of heart to the adventure as we see two men try to reconnect. And as funny as the comedy is, it does sometimes ruin some of the characters, especially Salah and Marcus. In the first Indy movie, there was still a more serious, grounded feel to these characters, but here they come across more like bumbling goofballs. But thankfully, the more serious moments are still impactful. Indy and Henry trying to reconnect does still feel genuine. Indy taking the challenges of God is suspenseful, and the scene where Donovan drinks from the wrong grail is still as intense as an MMA fight between Fallon Fox and a biological woman. Raiders may still be the best, but this one is still my favourite. It's sharp, funny, fast-paced, full of intrigue, and is also the more emotional out of the series. And if you're looking for something to watch with your father figure, or as a remembrance to the good old days with your father or father figure, and you decide to choose this one, you, my friend, have chosen wisely. Right, that's me done. I'm off down to pub.